So times are tough, gas is expensive, we might be in a recession, but hey, how are you going to feel better? You're going to build yourself a top-end gaming system. Now, how are you going to build this when times are so tough? Take a look at this, the EVGA 750i for the Win Edition motherboard. Let's talk a little bit about this motherboard right here. It's very close to the 780. The whole point of this is that it saves you a little bit of money, that little bit of money that might help you elsewhere. The 780's got a lot of stuff that not everybody needs, and this only comes with exactly what you need. It doesn't have the dual gigabit LAN, may or may not need that. It doesn't have 3 PCI Express 2.0x16 slots, but it's got 2. Not everybody's playing Crysis, not everybody's playing Fear and Bioshock. Some people want to play Call of Duty 4, World of Warcraft, the most popular game in the world. You can imagine there's a lot of people that want to play, but they still want to build a top-notch system. So this 750i board will give you 780i-like performance, but $50 cheaper. So you're saying you're only going to save 50 bucks. What's the big deal? You might as well go for gold, but that's not the case. That $50 could be the difference between a Q9300 and a Q9450. It could also be the difference between a 9600 GT and, let's say, a 9800 GTX. So those 50 bucks can go a long way elsewhere, especially when you're paying for a bunch of stuff that you don't really need. So just like the 780i performance, you get the 750i. You do lose a slot, you lose the dual gigabit LAN, but look at all the great features you do get. You get the exact same cooling that you would get on the 780i. So there's no cutting corners here. You have this full Northbridge cooler, all the heat pipes. You get solid state capacitors, and then on top of that, it comes with the optional fan for your Northbridge chipset. And everything on here is very similar to the 780i. It's got the same black board, high-end board. It's just 50 bucks cheaper. On the For the Win edition, on top of that, you get the overclocking friendly BIOS. If you're familiar with the 680i, the 780i, the 790i, the BIOS on here is going to be very familiar, very fast. You're not going to need to learn anything new, so you'll definitely have that. On top of that, let's look at some of the cool features that are meant for enthusiasts. For the Win stuff is for enthusiasts. It's for gamers, overclockers, people like to mess with your computers. You know, if you do that kind of stuff, you're going to love this. Check this out. Look at these 2 buttons right here. See these 2 buttons? You press them. That's your reset and your power button. So when you're benching the computer, you're building it outside of the case, you don't need to hook up those power buttons, all the little dip switches that are all annoying. You can do those. And let's say you overclock and you take it a little too far and you need to reset your BIOS. There's your clear CMOS button. No jumping pins and pulling batteries. You just push the button and you're good to go on that. Also, let's take a look up here at the top. If you move up a little bit, there we go. Solid state capacitors, okay? These are not the electrolytic capacitors, they're the conductive polymer solid state capacitors, and then the 6-phase power. So very good, keeps your board very stable when you're overclocking at extreme frequencies. Your board's gonna run very stable, your power is gonna be stable. Let's look a little bit further down, and to the left here we're going to look at our DIMMs. DDR2, another thing this board supports is instead of the regular 750 from other companies, the EVGA for the Win supports the 1066 DDR2, not just the 800 megahertz. It will also support on the chip, you get the Socket 775, but the front side bus support 1333 megahertz native, which is going to be your Wolfdale cores, your Yorkfields, all your Penryn stuff, and you can overclock this. This will go past 1600. People have gotten it as high as 2000 megahertz front side bus, which is 500 megahertz quad pumped. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the specs, the rest of the specs on the board, and I'll give you a little preview as to what we have on the sides and the front and the back. Now, unlike the 780, again, you do only have gigabit LAN here. You don't have the dual gigabit, but you're not going to need that if you're just connecting to the internet and you're gaming. It's just not necessary. You got 6 USB 2.0 ports, SPDIF optical output, high def surround sound, 7.1 channel built in. You got your FireWire and your PS2s in case you're old school. Let's keep going. Let's look on the other side of the board. Unlike your 780i, 2 less SATA headers. So these are the 3G, 3 gigabit per second SATAs, but there's not 6 of them, there's only 4. But these do still support RAID 0, RAID 1, 0+1, 6, JBOD. You can do it all on here through the BIOS. Very simple to set up RAID arrays, stripping or mirroring, whatever you want to do, or a combination of it. You also got your IDE header. So that's another thing that I'm waiting to leave. Why do people still have IDE headers for their legacy drives? It's kind of old school. You got to remember, if you're building a new computer and you're trying to use an old hard drive to save cache, don't use the IDE header. It's got a third less throughput than the SATAs do. So you definitely want to go SATA, especially for your boot drive, wherever your operating system's gonna be. Here's another little thing I want to show you. Check out the little postcode. When you're pulling your hair out, going psychotic, and you don't know why. Why is my computer not working? I have no idea what's going on. These silly beeps. I don't understand. This thing gets rid of all your problems. It's just a postcode. It gives you a number. You look it up in the manual, and it tells you exactly what's wrong. Your memory's not initializing, CPU, whatever it might be. Look at this board. It's fantastic. The Northbridge and Southbridge chipset coolers are great. The Northbridge, I mean, this thing looks like the Luxor Hotel or something in Vegas. What is that? It's crazy.
Cheese grater.
Cheese grater, yes, it's a cheese grater or a egg slicer. God, hey, you're good. You're on the ball, Randy. Check out what comes in the box, too. This is a cool little chipset fan right here. This is going to go ahead and snap right on to keep your chipset fan. It's optional. You're not really supposed to have to put it on, but if you're going to do a fast processor, you're going to overclock, definitely use it. You don't want to melt anything. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you see this slanted here, looks like a skateboard ramp. The reason it's like that is so you can fit a huge CPU cooler right here, and then the cooler wouldn't get in the way. Let's go over some other stuff that's in the box with this thing. Your input-output plate, no big deal, shiny and pretty, very nice. ID cables, useless, never gonna use those. A bunch of SATA cables. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 SATA cables, the regular ones, not the 90-degree bends. Very nice, very useful. Obviously, your optional chipset fan. What else we got here? An SLI bridge. If you didn't get one with your video card, here is an extra one for you to hook up your video cards in SLI. And then on top of that, a bunch extra USBs. So you have only 4 or 6 on the back of the motherboard, but if you need additionals, you got 4 more, which plug into the internal headers on this side. And then last but not least, very convenient if you have an old school power supply, if you're using those ID hard drives, this is your Molex to SATA converter. Very simple. So again, all this stuff comes together to bring you an excellent board. Budget guys, you don't need the SLI, the 3-way SLI. You can get away with 2 SLI. You're only gonna have 2 video cards. You have a 45 nm processor, a Core 2 Duo. You can't really run the 680i, so you got to go to 780 or 750, and this is a good thing. It'll run the 1333 megahertz front side bus. It's got the fast overclockable RAM, easy to overclock the BIOS. Great board for you gamers. Look into it if you're on a build. Until next time, see you around. For more information on the EVGA 750i SLI for the Win Edition motherboard, go to CompUSA.com and type in E145-2038, or you can call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-CompUSA.